using the hand picture that you made, we're going to write on there things that are inside the hand. You're going to write things that are in your control from your list. And then outside the hand, you're going to write down what you wrote down or what you can think of, what is out of your control. So for instance, fulfillment, is that within your control or is that out of your control? Loving what you do, is that in your control or out? If it's in your control, it goes in the hand. If it's out of your control, if it's controlled by something else, it goes outside the hand. Does that make sense? So motivation, is that in the hand? I'm not asking, you don't have to answer, but I'm just saying, think about motivation. Is that going to be inside the hand? Is that in your control? Or is motivation outside the hand? Is that out of your control? And it could be different for different people. And really quick, going back to the mandalas, if you didn't finish it, send me the picture once you finish it. That's when I want the picture. So don't worry about if you didn't finish it yet. Mm-hmm. So Kayla said, like in some cases, motivation, she said, will be inside, but for you, what might be inside for another person might be outside. So there's no quote unquote right answer. It's just based on these things. Making money might be one for some people, even though we've been stressing that that's not the key thing, the most important thing, but that might be a thing to indicate whether you think you have a successful career. So is making money in your control, inside the hand, or out of your control, outside the hand? You can think of,
I would think that would be making the money would be a combination. Can it be in and out?
If you wanted to.
Yeah.
It's what works for the individual. So the goal is to kind of get an idea of what individual people think for themselves. So if you have something that you think, like Ms. Regina said, could be both, then you can put it, you can write it in both places. You can write it inside the hand and write it again outside the hand. Interest, is that in your control, outside your control? Communication, is that in your control, out of your control? Maybe you want to say helping people, good co-workers, kind boss, healthy workplace, having your own business. So a lot of customers may be an indication. A lot of inventory, if you want to have a business that involves products, you might say a large inventory might be something you're looking for. Just try to be more like, think about the career that you want. I think somebody said they wanted to be a marine biologist. So based on what you know about being a marine biologist, how would you know if you're a successful marine biologist? Somebody else said a football player. How would you know if you're a successful football player, a successful lawyer, a successful doctor? How would you know? Somebody said a mortician. Somebody said a forensic scientist, a pathologist. Based on what you know about that career, cosmetologist, I heard, a fashion designer was one.
Actress or actor.
Actress was one. I heard somebody talk about that. Business owner, small business owner, entrepreneur. So just take your time and think about things that would indicate that your career has been successful, and then write those things, whether they're in your control or out of your control. Does that make sense to everybody? If you're not understanding what I'm saying, just put something in the chat, raise your hand, and I'll try to break it down a little more, because we all learn differently. So some people might not understand. It's okay. I don't see any questions. I think everyone kind of gets what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Perfect, Stephanie. Inside our hand, we write what's in our control, and outside the hand, we write what's out of our control. Couldn't have said it any better. That's absolutely right. Okay, as soon as it clears up. Okay, here we go.
Why is it that some people seem to get all the breaks in life, while others never seem to get where they want to be? Some seem successful in almost all they do. They land great jobs and are happy in their relationships. Then there are others who have jobs or relationships that are always unsuccessful. They feel trapped and unfulfilled. And why is it that some people can tackle adversity and come out the other end even stronger, taking life in their stride, while others fall only to spend their time pointing the finger of blame at the people or circumstances that they believe stop them from achieving their goals? Is it fate, luck, or the actions of others that drive the results we see in our lives? Or is it the decisions we make, the lessons we learn, and the effort we put in that helps us get the results we want? How much control do we really have over our lives? Psychology proposes a helpful framework called locus of control, the extent to which individuals believe they have control or influence over the events affecting them. Our locus of control is a continuum. Some days we see that the control sits within us. Our choices, our actions give us the results we get, either good or bad. It is internal. Other days we may see that the result we get sits beyond our control, external. When faced with challenges in life, we could wait for fate, luck, or chance to deliver us good results. Or we can try to influence an outcome. Studies have shown that people who tend to approach life from the more internal end of the continuum are happier and healthier, less likely to give up, and more likely to report happier relationships. People with this perspective often say they create their own luck. They focus less on what cannot be changed in a situation and more on what they can control. They accept the reality of a situation, they identify their choices, they choose a response and live by it. We will all face choices, challenges, and opportunities throughout life. How much influence are you having on the results you get?
Oh,
Okay. So, Regina, you want to go ahead and...
yes. Hi, everyone. Hope you enjoyed that short video, and I hope it made sense to you all. And I just wanted to just talk to you for just a second before we go into our next activity to see what one thing stood out to you from that that video. Like, what one thing stuck with you? What one sentence stuck with you? What was your takeaway?
To just
Mhm.
handle control.
Say it again.
To just handle what you can control.
Oh, great, great. Anyone? And I actually was taught that growing up myself. You can only control what you can control. You can't control anything outside of what you can control. So, anybody else?
For me, it was the kind of like the control meter that they showed. Like sometimes it can be internal and then sometimes it can be external. It just depends on the day.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Caitlin. Anyone else? That's awesome that you're learning about this in your psych course. Really, really awesome.
I'll share the YouTube video with you in our email today. So if you want to watch it again, just to see what else you can get out of it. But one thing I wanted to share, this up on my screen, is a thing they talked about. They talked about the internal and external locus of control. So let's go to, not that, sorry about that. Hold on 1 second.
Why is it that some people seem to get all the breaks in life,
I didn't want him to talk.
while others
Let's go back. Okay, from this screen, from this slide. So people with a high internal locus of control, and like the video said, this can change different days and different situations. But when the locus of control is internal, people tend to believe that their success is affected by their own actions, that they are generally more achievement-oriented and self-confident, and they think that they can influence or fix situations and believe that they can positively affect outcomes at work or in whatever situation that they're in. In other words, they are in control. People who explain performance, results, or career goal achievement as owing to other people, like their teachers, their boss, their coworkers, or customers, or to events like the market or the state of the industry, rather than looking to, questioning, or changing their own actions, have a more external locus of control. And before I go on, I want to be clear that it's not that one is quote unquote good or bad. It's just that they're different, and it's important to recognize where the locus of control is in a particular situation. So to practice more with that, we're going to do a little exercise. And for this, we want to try to breakout rooms, Regina? Okay. So in this, let's see, the best way to do this. I'm going to share a scenario with you. So give me a minute. I don't know if we have, I don't think I'm ready to do the breakout rooms, Regina, because I don't have the questions separated. But let's see. We can talk about it and then we can go into the room and share. Hold on 1 second. Now it's been missing my little worksheet. Sorry. Oh, here it is. Okay. Let me try to do, I don't know why I get so nervous with the breakout rooms. I'm going to give the scenario and then I'll broadcast the question into the breakout rooms. So let me put you in the breakout rooms.
Deputy Chief Kamen, I said.
And then I'll share. I'll type the question in.
I'm sorry, my wife.
Sorry about that. I'm trying to, Asaya, I need you to mute yourself. We can hear your
She did.
background.
She just did.
Okay, I muted her, but she
Okay.
unmuted herself.
Okay.
So I need you to keep yourself muted if the background noise. Okay, so I'm going to do the breakout rooms. Let me see what staff I have. So I have Shamira, you're here. All right, you're here. And Regina's here. And
Saida.
Saida's here.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do 5 breakout rooms. That way we'll keep it small enough for everybody to talk. And what I'm going to do is I'll put the question up once I do the breakout rooms. It's okay, Asaya. If your Wi-Fi, anybody's Wi-Fi cuts out, you have technical difficulties, you don't have to verbally tell me, just sign off and sign back in so that we can just keep the flow going. But thank you for letting me know. Okay, so we do 5 breakout rooms. Okay. I'm going to randomly put everybody in the room with one staff. Okay, and okay, I'm opening the rooms now. So I'll put the message in. Oh, sorry, Amani, that wasn't for you. Okay, guys, so just go around in this room and introduce yourselves briefly, come off of the mute. When you're in a presentation and you're doing breakout rooms, it's important that you turn on your videos. So that's an expectation in the workplace that you join. Nia, you're supposed to be in room 4. So I'm assuming you're not here. I'm going to mark you absent unless you join your room. Thank you. And Octavian, you can stay in this room. Did everybody join their rooms? Joellis, you're here. Octavian, you're here. So Octavian, you want to just introduce yourself? Octavian, Joellis. What are you doing? Octavian, are you here? Okay, nobody's here. All right. Can we wait for everybody to come back? I thought it was just going to close the rooms. I didn't know it was going to give them extra time. Okay, Tamar, thank you. Okay, so everybody's coming back now. Okay, give it a couple seconds. Okay, so I think everyone's back. So, how'd it go in your group? Somebody want to report back? So, Cassine said it was good. So what about your scenario? Report back like what you, based on the scenario that you had. Can one of the staff kind of say what your scenario was and then go from there?
Can I say, so, because I'm getting ready to jump off,
Mhm.
you want me to tell you the whole scenario?
Just kind of summarize it.
Okay, we had a lady who had a can of soda on top of a computer. Her boss asked her to remove the can of soda off of the computer, and she did not do it. So a coworker came by and knocked the can of soda off and caused damage to the computer.
Mhm. And then the responses that were given. So participants in that group, do you want to?
I said she should have just moved the can because it's just so simple just to move it.
So what would her response have been to the boss? Like, that's true. And so,
If that was me, I would have just apologized and moved the can.
and is that internal or external? Locus of control.
Internal,
Internal. Why? Why do you think it's internal?
because she's apologizing because she made a mistake.
Good. She took control, took responsibility. Great job, Najee.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from that group or who else had that scenario have a different response?
I said that she could have replaced the computer.
Is that internal? That's good.
Yes, because
That's
she could
internal.
be doing it.
Okay. Taking responsibility. Anybody else? One more person from that group or who had that question? Okay, what about another group? Shamira, what was your group's scenario?
I might not be the best person to do this, just because I had a lot going on while we were talking about it, when you initially came in to say it. But from my understanding and from what I caught, was that we had a young man who took a break, and then his boss got upset that he took the break during that time. So it was kind of like, how would you react in that situation?
Right, because he said he finished his work and then he took a break, and then the boss found out he didn't finish the work, and then he confronted him. So how did he respond? And what were some of the responses that you came up with in that group? Anyone that had that question? We had the same question. So from either my group or Shamira's group, anybody?
Well, I said that it was in his control, to do the work, and the way he communicated with his boss or anything like that. And, it was kind of like on him to kind of complete everything that he needed to do.
So in terms of his response to the boss, what's a response you would have given the boss based on what you just said? How could he have responded to being confronted?
Maybe, he could have like admitted like, okay, yeah, I know I didn't do the work or something like that. But, just being honest with his boss would have been like the best option.
Okay. So you think he should have been honest and said exactly what happened and like was said before, like apologize for not doing it. Okay. And so that's that internal or external? if you were to do that? Is that an internal response? Is that taking responsibility, or is that external, blaming someone else? Internal. Thank you, Caitlin. Okay, anybody else want to respond?
Our group scenario was there was a boy and he failed his test, and when his teacher asked him about it, he had to like, what was his response going to be? And we said that his response could either be like him taking responsibility and accountability for it, oh, I didn't study, or making up excuses, I didn't have time to study.
Right. Perfect. So he blamed, in the one hand, he took responsibility and said, I didn't study, so he took responsibility. Is that internal or external?
That's internal, and
Right.
getting time to study is external.
So he blamed it on time. So he blamed it something out of his control. So that's external. Great job. And Art, your group?
That was my group.
Okay, Asaya says she wants to do one. Go ahead, Asaya.
Okay, I'm trying to cancel all the background music so y'all can hear me.
Okay. We can hear you though. Go ahead.
Okay, hold on. So I want to do external.
Okay.
So some ways he could have like got it F because of external problems was because maybe he didn't have the resources or something to like study or properly.
Okay.
Because
So even though it's valid, it's still external because he is quote unquote blaming it on his circumstances as opposed to taking control of it.
Even though it's internal too, because you can also like go to school and study. Like,
okay. Nope, that's good. So let's talk about, good job, guys. So I think that was all the scenarios. Did anyone else have anything on that one? So the last thing I want to talk about is, let's see, let me share this screen. Okay, so in the screen, it talks, sorry about that. Trying to get rid of this black bar at the top. Hold on one second. Okay. So it says a more internal locus of control. So talking about why this is important and how this applies. So a more internal locus of control is associated with achievement in school, in sports, business, as well as long-term physical and psychological health. For example, when students who ace their tests give credit to working hard instead of just being smart or liked by the teacher, then they saw that their efforts were the reason that they were rewarded, and therefore that motivates them to work hard in the future. So when you have a more internal locus of control, you are motivated to do whatever you can control to continue that good outcome. So you work hard, you study, you take ownership, take responsibility, you know, make sure you wake up on time instead of blaming the alarm clock or blaming some other reason why you were late. You can just say, you know, I was late because I didn't give myself enough time. So now, next time, yes, within your control. So as this one says at the top, it's people with a more internal locus of control are more motivated to acknowledge and fix the problem. You can fix the problem if you own up to it. If you blame others, then you're blaming it on things that you have no control over. So more than likely, you're going to repeat that negative behavior and not make any change. It says an internal locus of control is correlated with greater success and achievement because the tendency to attribute both one's successes and failures to one's own actions gives students, athletes, business people, and even parents a reason to review their actions, identify where they could improve, and take action. So the question then is, how can I change to a more internal locus of control. So I found an article that I'm going to share, has some tips on how to change your locus of control. One thing is to take ownership. Begin to, even if you think that it's going to get you in trouble or hurt somebody's feelings or whatever it is, even if you think it might lead to a bad outcome, as we talked about before with the millionaires, one thing that's important is to be honest. So the one thing you can start practicing doing is taking responsibility. So that's the first thing that will help in developing a better internal locus of control. Hold on one sec, guys. I'm sorry, I put too many tabs up, but I couldn't see what I was doing. Okay, I'm sorry, hold on one second. I got rid of my slide, my fault, I'm sorry. Here it is. Be aware that you have a choice is the other one. When you realize that you always have a choice to change your situation, even if this change isn't your first choice or is merely a change on how you look at things, it can be liberating and empowering. So be aware that you have a choice in the situation. Phrases like, I have no choice or I can't, you can replace them with phrases like, I choose not to, or I don't like my choices, but I will blank. Realizing, acknowledging that you always have a choice, even if the choices aren't ideal, can help you change your situation. The other one is, next one is to review your options. When you feel trapped, make a list of all possible courses of action. Just brainstorm and write things down without evaluating them first. So then you're more able to tap into your creativity. And this might be like one of the things you do while you're doing your mandala journaling. Do the mandala, get your mind process, kind of get into a good space, and then start to just list all the possible courses of action and brainstorm. Don't even think about, oh, that's not good, that's a bad idea. Just write down all the options, review them, and then you can kind of weigh them out to see like which one is the best situation. Now, that's not going to work if you're just like responding to a situation right at hand, but this is like when you go back and look at, evaluate, how could I have handled that better? You know, so you get into the practice of reviewing your options, taking some time when you have some time. Okay, how can I handle this? I could either blame it on someone else or blame it on my circumstances, or I could take responsibility myself and start practicing that so you don't get into the habit of being someone who's always blaming everything else, because what that shows is that if you can't take responsibility and you're always blaming other things, you're going to develop what's called a learned helplessness. Like you're going to be in a situation where you just think everything just happens to you, like was said in the video earlier. It just happens that way, so I don't have any control over it. I can't do anything about it. You know, teacher doesn't like me. It's a bad school, whatever the excuses are. You know, there's no jobs. All kinds of different examples I can think of that, you know, where you blame the circumstances, you blame the situation. We just went through this whole year and a half and are still going through this pandemic, and a lot of things are out of our control. So what we can do is, as we start making these changes, quote unquote, back into normal, or with the new normal, whatever they want to call it, as we start adjusting to all these restrictions being lifted, this is a great opportunity to practice what kind of responses we're going to have to the situation. I'll use myself as an example. So our agency, we've been working from home all this time, and now they're starting to talk about what it's going to look like once the buildings open back up. Now, I like working from home. I like the flexibility of working from home. I like the way I can kind of cook my lunch and then get on the Zoom and, you know, turn my camera off for a second. And if I need to take care of something else, I like the flexibility. However, the reality is that there's things in that that's out of my control. If my agency comes back and says, we're going to open that building and you got to come back, I have a choice. Quit my job and find a job where I can work remotely, or make the adjustments so I can go back into the building, or maybe talk to my supervisor and maybe there's some kind of agreement we can come up with where I can work from home a little bit and go into the office a little bit. Right off the top of my head, those are the 3 choices that I can deal with. So I can kind of weigh those choices. Do I want to quit my job? Do I just want to go into the office all the time and be miserable because I really don't want to be there? Or do I talk to my boss and try to come up with a way to resolve this and problem solve so that maybe I get a little bit of what I want and they get what they want? So you see how that works? It's like I can take control over that situation and that situation doesn't have control over me. So that's my presentation. Ms. Regina had to step away, but she said she really enjoyed working with you guys today and talking with you, those who were in her breakout room. So before we wrap up, just anything else anyone has to say about locus of control? Did you learn anything? Are you going? I know I see Caitlin and Melina, Aaliyah, Kayla, Imani, and Asaya. Did you learn anything, Dominic?
I mean, I learned like what to identify as internal and external and how you can more so like kind of coordinate what you do or be in charge of what you do in certain situations.
Yes, yes, good. And Melina says conditions are different for everyone, and which is true. And the main thing is to just remember, you can't control other people's conditions, but you can control your own, some of them. So as Regina, I think somebody else said it, control what you can control. This Kasim, learn not to try and control things that I can't control and take responsibility for the things that you can. Tagita said this was more of a reminder to me. And Hanaja said, thinking more on the aspect of knowing what isn't in my control. Great.